All right, welcome to the SQV, everyone. This is the Small Quiet Voice. Welcome to the mix. We're going to honor that small quiet voice by talking to an amazing individual that I met recently on a networking group. With us today is the CEO of Aerial Advisor, Shaun McAndrew, who is a 27-year helicopter Navy pilot and an impressive spirit. And we have a lot to talk about, so we're going to get right into it. But hey, Shaun in the house. How are you, lady?
Hey, Shannon, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to talking to you and having such a wonderful conversation. You have such great energy. I absolutely love it. So I can't wait to share that with you and your audience today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That's so nice. So anyway, you and I met, I think it was at Unicorn Universe, was it not?
We actually met through someone you met in person at a networking event, and he said, hey, you all need to get connected. And we did. And it was one of those like, yeah, he was right.
Okay, cool. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm meeting a lot of wonderful people, and it's been an exploration in just fun, and I love vibing off of people, and that's really why I started the SQV a couple months back. I just, when I wrote my book, I thought I'm going to honor my small quiet voice, and I'm going to do the things I want to do now, because for the first time in my life, I don't have a boss telling me that I have to do this. So this is kind of my little side project, because I do work a lot with SDM Consulting Services, and I'm developing culture certifications as well. But I wanted a chance to play with people in a way that it's meaningful. And then also, we all need good video content. So this is serving a lot of different purposes.
I love the authenticity, woman. I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Well, and you know very well that we try to do things in our professional pursuits that are that serve more than one purpose. If you can get, I love this saying, more juice from the squeeze, right? And so that's what we're doing today. So tell me about your let's just start because I want everybody to know as much about you as I know. Tell everyone a little bit about your upbringing, when, where, why, how, and why you joined the military, other professional pursuits you may have had. I mean, I can't imagine you've had much more than that, but you probably have, because you're a goddess. But I'm so curious about your evolution and your journey. So please share.
Well, I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, which is coal mining country. My grandfather was actually a coal miner. So we didn't know that before, by the way, guys. So what I did, what happened growing up, I'll say it was a suburb without having a big city next to it. That's how I would describe the area.
Wow.
And so it was, a really good area for a kid to grow up. My parents, didn't come from much, but both, made it through college. So they were first generation college graduates. And I was very much imbued with, thou shalt go to college. I get it. But they also exposed me to so many different things that, we camped, we traveled, as much as they could, or could afford. My dad was always working. Trying to make, ends meet and provide for us in the best way that he could. So he was a school teacher. Then he did a second job with photography. And then he was also in the Army National Guard, which is also how I learned how to polish boots, but I knew that I was not going to go into the Army.
Yes.
There are benefits to knowing both of those things factually.
For sure.
So as I was growing up on one of these trips, we happened to go to Annapolis, and they let me walk around the yard by myself. And, this was in the mid 80s. The campus was very much wide open.
How old were you, just to give us perspective?
I think I was coming out of 7th grade, going into 8th, somewhere in there.
Kind of trying to figure out life, like the next thing. Okay.
And so I'm walking around and I'm like, this would be a cool place to go. And and that started the journey of, okay, what do I want to do? And I had decided, by middle school, or by the end of middle school, that, I did want to go to the Naval Academy. I wanted to major in electrical engineering, and I wanted to fly for the Navy. And so, I set on that journey, through high school, played field hockey, did the student council things, that most students will do, trying to get good grades, all those things that you need for college. And, finally with the academy, I was let in, I'll say on a wait list late admissions, found out May 2nd, of 1989 that I'm going. So about a month before I graduate.
That
So
had a
absolutely
huge
ecstatic.
party,
Oh,
right?
it was a huge party.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
that's so
absolutely.
cool.
Well, also it was the time when I got the phone call, it was actually from the senator's office. And I'm like, okay, I've got to call the academy because this would be a really horrible prank. And I remember that being the second thought besides yay.
Well,
is
and
like,
that was
let
the
me-
time frame that we were doing phone pranks. I was doing them at that age. Like I pranked my ex-husband so bad one time, like he was in tears. I'm like, April Fool's Day. So yeah, this is good. I'm glad that you confirmed it. Yes.
Yeah, it took me about 15 minutes to get through to admissions to actually get it confirmed. It was confirmed. Now I could really start jumping for joy. Of course, I was home alone, latchkey kid. It was the 80s.
Oh yeah.
And so there's nobody to celebrate with me because I'm home alone.
Like Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, but they were coming home daily. It wasn't a holiday.
Mhm.
So, I go through the academy. I do major in electrical engineering. There are 26 of us. We just had our 30th reunion. I'll say late last year. And the people that I commiserated with the most are those double E majors who we leaned on each other so much to actually get through. And it was one where, somebody would get half a problem, the other person would get the other half. We'd merge them together. And then that's how we would teach each other how to do the problems.
Yeah.
And that was our salvation collectively, was literally, okay, yeah, we heard it, but how do you really do it? And really everybody did their own work, everybody also helped each other, which was fantastic.
How long were you in the academy? How long were you there?
It was 4 years.
Okay. And so just a beautiful, beautiful time of learning and discovery of your own self and collaborating with others and learning how to work with others and learning cool things. And, obviously, jumping into military life. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how different was military life, obviously your dad had some military principles that he raised you with. So you probably weren't too shell shocked like a lot of people are. But when you joined the academy, or like I was enlisted, so I went through basic training, which is a 6-month culture. It just messes with your head. So you had 4 years of an academy experience. And I know that in many ways it's as tough as basic training is. For 4 years. So, you get your privileges, but it's very, very strict and it's very, very different than living in a civilian world. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Going through the academy, it is definitely an immersion program, in learning how to be a Navy or Marine Corps officer. And the whole idea is plebe summer is there, to really get you to go from transition from being a civilian to being at least a midshipman. So capable of developing yourself, as a leader, as a follower, in the Navy Marine Corps life. So that's about 6-7 weeks long. Then you have plebe year, which is, okay, you're still new to being a midshipman, but let's add this college academic thing and layer that on top of you while still developing you as that, future naval officer. All right. So that's that hard. And then you have the next 3 years, youngster year, second class year, first year, sophomore, junior, senior year. And they all pass by. And when you look back at the end, you go, wow, there were 3 periods. First was 6 weeks, one was a year, and then there was the last 3 years. But boy, they were all the same amount of time.
Okay.
So that's how it ends up feeling as you're going through.
Wow.
Is plebe summer, it feels like it never ends. Plebe year, it feels like it never ends. The next 3 years, they feel like they never end, but they pass by so quickly.
Best time of your life, right?
No, actually, fond memories.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the best time of my life.
Okay. So I want to ask a couple questions about the Naval Academy. Percentage of women in your 26-person class. How many women were in there?
All right. I don't remember how many. We came in with 1,402 people in the class, graduated 1068. I don't remember how many women we came in. I think it was around 120, 125. We graduated with 90.
Okay.
So it was 10%-ish.
And so, like it is in basic training, about a third of the people in my class that went through basic training washed out. They call that washed out. I mean, they call that in the academy washed out.
No, let's see. Well, the thing is there's kicked out.
Yeah.
There's resign.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways, I'll say, to leave
Hmm.
the academy. There's no one phrase that we call everything because it really depends on the circumstances.
But you did it, and
Mhm.
props to you, lady. That's amazing. And so after the Naval Academy, did you have a significant other at that time, or was it just work and school?
No, I was dating someone while I was at the academy, and when we left, say that relationship fell apart within about 6 months.
Okay.
So we dated for, I'll say a good 2.5 years, while we were at the academy. But then, about 6 months later, we ended up going our own ways.
Okay.
So
All right.
then,
So then,
then I'm off and having fun.
yeah. So then your first assignment, take us through that. What was that like for you?
Well, the first thing, one, I had to wait to go to flight school, but the first thing that you have to do to become a helicopter pilot is learn actually how to fly.
It's important.
That is it's kind of a requirement. And so the first thing is, going through aviation pre-flight indoctrination, which is a lot of the ground school. So, how do you actually read what the weather is? It's kind of important for flying that you know what the weather is coming, just a smidgen. How does an engine work? What creates lift? Basics of being able to read a chart so that you know where you're going in the air. So some of those things, all the water survival. You don't want to drown if the aircraft happens to go into the water. So there's a lot of those things that actually have to be done, meeting different physical standards. And that's done in a 6-week period. Then you go off to your primary flight training, one of 5 squadrons. And mine happened to be in Pensacola as well, or actually Milton Field, which is, again, close enough to Pensacola that most people won't know where Milton, Florida is. They will at least have heard of Pensacola.
Yeah. Pensacola is a nice town. I liked it there. I was in Panama City for 10 years, so I went to Pensacola a few times. I liked it.
Yeah, they have done so much with the downtown. They really have revived it and really created this thriving, walkable downtown area.
Love it.
The difference between when I started and, when I'm getting ready to retire was drastic. And it was awesome to see, a city, revive itself,
Yeah.
that you could see over time, which was really, really fun.
Awesome. So, okay. So over the course of the career, just rattle off some of the places you've been stationed and you've seen and you visited. I know you've been all around the world probably, right?
Just once or twice.
Yeah.
So from flight school, I was selected to go to San Diego, which I was excited about. That was my first choice. In my preferred aircraft, which is the SH-60 Bravo Seahawk helicopter. The mission was anti-surface, anti-submarine warfare over the water, deployed off of the smaller combatants, which are cruisers, destroyers, frigates. Did 2 deployments, while I was in San Diego. And then I wanted to go crazy, and I went and flew a fixed-wing aircraft in Bahrain in the Middle East. And, very much enjoyed flying that machine. It was called a C-12. Very, very fun aircraft all over the Middle East. Ended up meeting my husband during that tour. So we ended up staying there for me, a second tour. And I went over to the NAVCENT staff. Now, the time frame of this is 2000 to 2004. So it was a really calm period in the world during that time frame. There was absolutely nothing that happened of importance, 9/11, during that time frame. Kickoff of Iraq War. No, it was.
Oh my gosh!
Really
when I was in from 92 to 2000, there was very little going on. Saudi Arabia was a hotbed, but there was no wars. But this is 2000 to 2004. You're saying, okay, yeah, there was a little bit of popcorn popping.
There was a little bit of popcorn. We got very busy. We went from Sleepy Hollow to running a sprint marathon every day, about overnight. But from there, I went to my department head tour in Hawaii, deployed back to the Middle East, which was fun because since I had actually been part of writing a lot of the processes and procedures, when we actually couldn't get them, I'd be like, no, this is the process and procedure. And they'd be all like, how do you know? Because I'm like, probably because I either had to edit or write it myself.
Yeah.
Or provide the update, which was a heck of a lot of fun. came back to Hawaii. And then, of course, the Navy decided I had not yet spent enough time in the Middle East. I was cordially invited back to a year in Iraq, where I did budgeting and money numbers. So why you send a electrical engineer helicopter pilot to do money is very much Navy logic.
Yeah.
Fascinating year on learning, one, how does money flow within our own government, but also a lot of nation building and what is required to actually, put things into place for a country, a government to run, and the support of the people, rule of law, a lot of different things that we don't think about from a day-to-day activity. But I really got a bird's eye view on nation building, from both the military and also from the diplomatic aspect, which I found a really invaluable, insight into how and why the world works on a day-to-day basis. During the time I was in Iraq, I was actually selected for command, which was, a very humbling process. And so I came back, and after a few months being back, I started the training process, and I was assigned to HSM 41. So I had to learn a new airframe. So the previous helicopter I flew got an upgrade. So got to have brand new helicopter. There is such a thing as new car smell. Well, there is such a thing as new helicopter smell.
I bet it's awesome.
It's awesome. Oh, shiny new toys are the best.
Yeah.
So, I transitioned into the new platform, and that squadron is actually the fleet replacement squadron. So we get all of the new pilots coming out of flight school, and then all of the pilots who had flown helicopters of, certain form or fashion, they were either relearning, the new aircraft was the MH-60 Romeo. They were either relearning the Romeo, or they were having to learn, again, transition from the Bravo to the Romeo. And so a lot of transition. We ended up having to maintain 30 aircraft, there because we were accepting delivery. We helped 2 squadrons actually do their transition, while I was there. And it's, just a huge continuous merry-go-round of activity that never stops because there's never deployment and people are always in need. And of course, have the softball up to God, and he decides I'm going to get pregnant during this time.
Oh my gosh.
So I have my child while I was in command. So it is definitely fun having to juggle all of those things. And when people go, well, how did you survive? I said, one moment at a time.
Yeah. It's hard.
And there was no strategy than take care of what was in front of me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say there was a grandiose or a huge vision. The vision was always to produce the best quality, air crewman or pilot, or maintainer for the fleet.
Wow.
So that vision can't stop just because I have a life event. It just can't.
So, Shaun, what year was your daughter born?
2010.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you.
I know it's a hard thing. I'm going to ask you a few questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, now that you're in the civilian world, because you got out in what year? 2020?
2020.
Amidst the pandemic. Thank goodness you were able to get out. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you miss speaking in alphanumerics and acronyms?
I will say I don't necessarily miss it. I have done my best to get rid of it, but when I get around a group of veterans and we start talking, it is like the second language. It immediately comes back.
Yeah.
So I can't say I miss it because I end up slipping into it every so often.
You were in too long. You were in too long. It's your first language, probably. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So just to give you a snippet, your career is amazing. And when people say thank you for your service, I want to tell you, thank you for your service. You served honorably and hugely, and profoundly, and you affected people's daily lives and the mission, and you protected our country. So I don't want to just say thank you. I want to say you've done a lot with your career, and I appreciate everything you've done. And they say a veteran is anyone that signed their name on the dotted line saying that they would give up to their life for their country. And I made that decision as well, but girlfriend, I didn't do what you did. I was a logistics troop. I was in supply. So I am very proud of that. And I want to circle back to what that does for us in our careers now, because it's very valuable. But I believe that when you are indoctrinated into the military, you learn two very important things, no matter what branch, because we all have this little Navy's better than Air Force is better than everybody else, Coast Guard's cooler, Navy, Army is the grunts, Marines are the badasses. Like, everybody has this thing. They think that military is a certain thing, but we're all brothers and sisters in arms at the end of the day. So what the military indoctrination does for the individual is it obviously trains you, it matures you, and it makes you feel like you are not just a person, you are part of something bigger than yourself. It teaches you teamwork, and it is a valuable thing that I think all young people should have to do. And I don't know if that would ever occur in this United States, but we need something that it brings us together, and that did it, man. I always feel like I'm part of a community in some form or fashion, because I know that there are people around me, whether they're around me right now or there's this brotherhood, right, of military people. And I've found myself in my years since the military gravitating toward other veterans, because they get it. They know the world is not just about them. So I know we are the same in many, many ways. So thank you. But you had talked about your career when you were in command, and I think you said you were in Iraq, that you were process developing, and you were training and budgeting and procuring and nation building. That's a cool word. That's pretty grandiose logistics, right? You had a broad scope view of building and maintaining aircraft and the transition and building people. And it was this continuous merry-go-round. And I compare that because I experienced the same thing. I was in logistics. That was very much, I was on the flight line. I was empowering aircraft to get out. I was training people. I was building processes. I was doing survey systems. I was training people on software that was being developed, believe it or not, in the early 2000s and in the 90s. They actually had software, boys and girls. We had computers back then. So it's this thing that we have done. And I use that as a branding tool. And I think a lot of military people should, because it's given us this ability to see things not just in front of us, because you had to do that as a mom in the military. I remember I had a son in the military. I was in for 2 years with him. But it has to have you thinking of what contingency might happen next. And I find myself being really good at this in my professional career for other companies. I find myself as a journalist, because I'm always nosy and I'm always questioning authority. And that was hard for me in the military. It got me a little bit of trouble every once in a while, but it's the way I'm wired. I ask why, and I want to learn, is this the best way to do it? Because I might have just learned something, boss, because I'm on the trenches every day. I might be able to add something to the conversation so we can collaborate and make this process better for the next poor schmuck that's to come up the line. So I found myself as a unit training manager very effortlessly. And I found myself writing training manuals effortlessly. And I find myself now in my career as a consultant looking at the way a business is structured and going, why is it like that? Is there a better way? Can we talk to some people about making this a little better for you? Because the cool thing about being in the military is that you know how things should run, right? We know that. When you look outside of the military, and I only was in the Air Force for 8 years, but it indoctrinated me and made me know how things should run. To honor the person, honor the company, honor the customer, to do right by environmental standards, to be legal, to do the right thing always, even though no one's looking. So I see these businesses that are so out of kilter, and I'm like, oh, but if we just did this, you'd actually make more money if we just did this. So that's where I find myself in this stage of my life going, this is really not that hard. Can we just please improve your processes? So I'd like to talk a little bit about, thank you for letting me go down that path. But it's important because I think that you are doing similar things based on your military experience. And I want to talk about where you're at now in your professional career and how that transition happened. And then also how you've used your military experience as a Navy helicopter pilot as a brand for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to show each other our photos when you're done with that, our military photos.
Wonderful. Well, I'll say, many journeys are, are lucky, and luck plays a part in those journeys more than we want to care to admit. We want to think that it's on, our, good, good intentions or good work or all of those things. But I definitely think luck plays into it. And that's how I can say, the transition has been. I was working with a company, transitioning here to North Carolina. And in 2019 had very purposely said, you know what, I'm going to take 6 months to become me and figure out who me is. And also to make sure I unboxed every single thing that I had, because I didn't want to live in a house, for 3 years and still have boxes all over the place.
I
So
think that must have been an amazing 6 months. I never did that. I never really did that. And so I think that's wonderful that you did that right after your military experience, because you can kind of get out of it and get into it, right?
and what was fun about what I'll say where it became very strategic is that happened to coincide with the start of COVID. So
Wow.
I had mentally already prepared to not have to do anything. So with COVID hitting and us, and me, basically leaving my last duty station in June of 2020, taking 6 months off, everybody was holding their breath and wondering what was going to happen next. I wasn't holding my breath. I knew what was going to happen next. I had to unpack another box.
It's all your fault.
I can't claim that much. Um, But during that time, what I did do is, I dabbled. And so I actually I was approached by a franchise broker. I looked at 4 different franchises, and did the due diligence through that process, decided to not go with it, with any of them. And then towards the end of the year, and again, all good stories start with a golf story. 2 gentlemen, on the golf course talking business, and ended up basically at the beginning of the year with an internship doing business developments for a small firm, part-time resume filler, just to get, feet wet in this process of what it's done. Well, I enjoyed working with the company and with the people. And I'm like, well, let's see if this can be more permanent. Either that or I got to build a resume and go find a job. And so I pitched them, an agreement, and they said yes. And
Wow.
so have been working with them, in a partnership, for the past 3 years,
Wonderful.
which has been fantastic that I can start building, building my business. So while helping build their business development, I also, found a way to do some coaching.
Wonderful.
And I will say I'm very drawn to the coaching for the simple fact of, yes, I do want to keep helping people. And I would look at it is, if I'm going to leave the world better than when I found it, truly working with small business owners is the passion. They are normally very hardworking, family-oriented people, biggest economic sector, employ the most amount of people, and they know their people more often than not. So if I can help them grow their business, get the life that they want, there's a better chance of a trickle-down effect that they're going to be able to provide that for their employees. Because more often than not, when I talk to small business owners, they care about their employees. They want to see them succeed. And so if I can help that small business owner succeed, then they're going to help more people. And so that's how I look at, how I really want to, really help the world. And so where does Aerial Advisor come in? Yes, absolutely, helicopter pilot. But what the training, for the Navy has done for me, I'll allude it to, when I take off and I go fly around anywhere, I have this beautiful aerial view of how things are connected together. And that is a great way for me to say, when I talk to people, there's blocks that start to move inside my mind to go, okay, how does this connect? And what am I really hearing? And how do we make this better?
Yep.
What are the opportunities that I'm hearing them say that they can't hear themselves say yet? Based on either my experience and what they've told me, what I know about what is going on and what will work. How do we blend that all together to get to the next,
Yeah.
you know, in a different way.
Yeah.
And so that's where the aerial advisor comes in, is, you know, being able to take a step back, a higher view, and where do you make the connections to things to make it go to that next level to get it to take off itself.
Yeah. And what I'm finding, because I'm doing similar work, what I'm finding is people are very proud of their processes, even if the processes are broken and antiquated. So what I had to learn, and what I'm still learning, is how to challenge the status quo without offending the person, right? And so that was something I've always been pretty good at. But as a military member, we can kind of say things in a little bit more aggressive way. And people are like, I get you. I understand you. I went through basic too. I know why she's like this. So I've had to tone myself down. And in Florida, it's been tough because, you know, there's a lot of people here that think women should just be this little easy person that shouldn't really question authority. And so I'm looking outside of Florida, quite frankly. It's this has been a challenge in many ways, but I've learned a lot about myself. I've had a year, so writing books, you know, doing all the things. Something about what you just said. Let's do this first, though. I want to see your military photo, please. We drop it in the share screen, and I'll do mine
Yes,
as well.
I will. Let's see.
And then you can tell me the story about that time. Yay!
All right. Oh, it's why I don't want to. Oh, I want to share a window. There we go.
You got it.
Okay. So this is at, all right, let's see when it comes up. This is at the change of command. I was outgoing as a CO with my little munchkin. She's not quite, or yeah, she's just over a year old here.
She's just beautiful.
Yes, she is.
She's just beautiful. Oh, and you are too. Great photo. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my goodness. Isn't it fun to be a mom in the military? They take such good care of you, if it's, you know, to where they can, right? They try to do the best they can do with, you know, keeping you in the mission ready, but there's so much support that we get. And I just want to say thank you to all the military people that I ever served with for trusting me, you know, and giving me that love and that support that I needed. Cause man, I've not found that anywhere else besides in the U.S. Air Force.
No, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, yeah, and I love your hat. It's so pretty. I love the hats. It's good headgear. I had those silly BDU caps that I wore, and then I didn't like our hats as much as your hats. They were like the little flight cap. It was like a little triangle, like a Krispy Kreme. It wasn't as cute. But I love that it's outdoors and all that jazz. So anyway, I'm having an issue. Let's see, open. I think I might need to reboot my computer when we get off the call, because I tell you what, my computer's getting tired.
That happens.
It does. It really happens a lot. But yeah, we work hard, and I'm proud of you for, like, you know, transitioning. That's not always an easy thing, because, you know, you're not probably going to fly helicopters when you're outside of the military, right?
No.
So you got to figure out what you're going to do. That's the thing the military does. It grooms you for leadership. It certainly did that for me. Let's see here. All right. There's my photo.
Awesome.
I was Airman of the Quarter. This, I think, is in 1995. No, hold on. 97. It was a year before my son was born. Yeah. So this is Brigadier General Arthur Light. And he went on, I think, to get 3 or 4 stars and work at the Pentagon. I was good friends with his daughter, actually set his daughter up. Hi, Liz and Heath, with my friend Heath, and they got married and had 3 little boys. So this was cool. And then this is a senior enlisted advisor. I can't read his name, but I don't remember his name, but he was also inspired. But I actually went on a ride with Brigadier General Light, our wing commander, the base commander, for people who don't know what a wing is. He was our base commander. He was over about 3,000 people, and the KC-135 refueling wing. So he got in a car, and he was super humble and super down to earth. And we talked about his daughter and, you know, our acquaintance there. And he was in this, we were driving to some type of presentation that he was going to be at. And so he veers off the road, and we go into the field, and it's like wintertime. So there's snow, and I'm like, what's going on? This is in Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's going on? I was like, he's having a stroke. I was like, are you okay? He's like, yeah. And he pulls over, and he picks up this big piece of plastic visqueen that had flown off of some crate from the flight line probably. And he picked it up and he put it in the back of the car and on we went. And I just looked at him and I thought, I had to ask because, you know, I'm just an asky person. I'm an asshole. I said, General Light, why did you pick up that garbage? There's other people that can do that. And he said, Shannon, or Airman Clonch. Was that Airman Winslow? Yeah, it was Clonch. See, Airman Clonch, he says, just so you know, I don't delegate something unless I have to. If I see something in front of me that I can do myself, I take care of it. I was like, that's cool. He also told me before we got in the car that day that he puts his flight suit on the same way anybody does, one leg at a time. So that was my General Light experience. The man is a gem. Taught me a lot. And it was a beautiful experience to be able to have that day with them. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Your daughter is so freaking cute. Now, how old is she now?
She's 13.
Can you share her name with us?
Harley.
Harley. Why did you name her Harley?
No, Carly with a C.
Carly. I was going to say, like, did you have a motorcycle when you were in
No.
high school? Was it like a little Top Gun moment going on? Darn it. Okay, Carly.
No.
That's also cute. That's also cute.
No, it's actually my husband came up with the name and I was like, yeah, I like that.
Good.
Let's go with it.
That's cute. That's cute. And how old is she now?
13.
13. All right. That's fun. Yeah, we're just going to leave that right there.
Fair enough.
God bless her. Okay. So I know she's got a mom that loves her and will guide her and she'll be amazing just like you. So it's just the teenagers are hard. So the last thing I want to just say is that because I got out of the service and then started my journalism career and my marketing career, I found myself in 2009 as an editorial assistant for the Panama City News Herald. And I was working about 20 hours a week because I had 3 kids and I couldn't work more than that, or I thought. About 9 months later, they gave me a full-time promotion. I was like, okay, I guess I can work more because it was so much fun. I loved it so much. But, and that's the balance, right? Like, I really like both of these things. How do I give both of them my full attention? It's impossible. It's just not possible. Read my book, Momming, chapter 16. It's not possible. We do the best we can do, right? It fries us. We are what we are. So women are amazing. And our support women, our mermaids, our villages that hold us up, and you know, our companies, sometimes our husbands, sometimes our extended family, you just get help wherever you can get help at that point, right? You just do. And hopefully these people are going to be trusted. And that was the thing for me. It was hard for me to find good childcare. So I finally just put him at this child development center and it was wonderful. Like, we had the best care with the institutionalized child daycare center. Anyway, and in 2009, when I was an editorial assistant, I found myself editing. So weird. I found myself editing and making the horoscopes fit on one page. And the horoscopes, when they come from AP, are about 5 times as long as what you see in the newspaper. So really, I was picking people's daily horoscope for them because on the course of all of this text, I might pull this part and was starkly different than this. So that was kind of weird. It was a big responsibility for me. I felt like the universe was like saying, okay, what part can you tell them? What part can they not know? That was challenging. The other part of my role was editing and getting the copy from the families of the people whose family member had passed away. And I found myself looking at those obituaries and looking at myself, right? What's my legacy? And we all do that at a certain point. I looked at it then. I've looked at it, recently when I wrote my book. I wanted to leave something powerful behind. But I look at a lot of women's obituaries and they're really short. And they say, was a good mom, was a good wife. She worked at the PTA and she was a lunch lady. And then she volunteered, later in life with the junior league, and it goes on and on and on and on. And it's about about a paragraph. My grandmother's was very long because we talked about the contributions she made to her community, and they weren't always paid for, but she, there were jobs she was paid for, but she loved a lot of people and she had a lot of family and a lot of grandkids, and she was a wonderful human, and the church was filled with her love, people that loved her in the community when she passed away in 2006. But I can envision a very long, very very powerful, very beautiful obituary on the day that you leave this earth. And I want to thank you for your contributions to this planet. And I want to thank you for believing in yourself so you can inspire us to do the same, inspire others to do the same, because that's what you've done. You've inspired me, and I know you've inspired the people that have watched this. You're a warrior, and hats off to you, madam.
Shannon, thank you so much. I have so enjoyed our conversation and, hearing more of your story. And I can't wait to see you excel on your journey, as you are able to deliver the leadership and the culture, across, so many organizations that desperately need it. And so I can't wait to see you and be able to cheer you on through your passion.
Namaste. Have a great day, Shaun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.